The explosion tore through the eastern wing of the royal palace, sending crystalline shards raining down like deadly snow. Queen Shavera of the Calthine Empire stumbled backward, her forearms instinctively reaching for support that wasn't there. Around her, the ornate throne room, a marvel of bioluminescent architecture that had stood for 3,000 cycles, began to crumble. "Your Majesty, we must evacuate." Her royal guards, 12 of the finest warriors in the quadrant, rushed toward the emergency passages. Their ceremonial armor, which had never seen real combat in generations, clinked uselessly as they fled. But they weren't running to save her. They were running to save themselves. The Vrex assault had come without warning. The insectoid race had bypassed every defense, every shield, every protocol. Now their chittering warriors were flooding through the breached walls, their mandibles clicking with bloodlust. The Queen's guards, bred for ceremony rather than warfare, had made their choice in seconds. Shavera watched them disappear into the smoke, her compound eyes unable to comprehend the betrayal. In 3 millennia of Calthine civilization, no royal guard had ever abandoned their sovereign. Until today. Well, she whispered to herself in her melodic language, so dies an empire. "Not today, ma'am." The voice was rough, speaking accented Calthine with a distinctly human inflection. Sergeant Marcus Webb stepped out from behind a fallen pillar, his combat armor scorched and dented from the orbital descent that had brought his unit to this doomed world. The human embassy staff were supposed to have evacuated days ago, but Webb's squad had volunteered to stay behind, helping with civilian evacuations. Now he was alone. His squad was dead, and he was staring at an alien queen he'd only seen in holographic briefings. "Human?" Shavera's translator implant conveyed her shock. "Why are you still here?" "Got separated from my unit," Webb said, checking his rifle's charge. 30%. Maybe enough. Figured I'd make my way to the extraction point, but... He gestured at the approaching sounds of Vrex warriors. "Looks like we've got company." The first Vrex burst through the chamber's main entrance, a nightmarish creature of chitin and rage, standing nearly 3 meters tall. Its multiple eyes fixed on the Queen, and it released a piercing shriek. Webb fired. The plasma round caught the creature center mass, punching through its natural armor and dropping it instantly. 2 more appeared behind it. Webb fired again, then again, moving to position himself between the Queen and the attackers. "You should run," Shavera said, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her. "I am not your responsibility. Your diplomatic mission is complete." "Yeah, well," Webb grunted, dropping an empty magazine and slamming in his last one. "My mama raised me better than to leave a lady alone at a party." He fired in controlled bursts, each shot counting. 5 Vrex down. 8. 11. His tactical display showed dozens more converging on their position. The math was simple and brutal. He couldn't win this. But he could buy time. "There's a service passage behind the throne," he said, not taking his eyes off the entrance. 50 meters takes you to the underground gardens. From there you can reach the emergency bunker. And you? I'll hold them here. That's suicide. Webb smiled grimly. That's the job. Shavera stared at this human, this strange, soft-skinned creature from a species that had only achieved interstellar flight a century ago. His kind were considered young, brash, almost primitive by galactic standards. Yet here he stood, ready to die for someone else's queen while her own guards had fled. "I don't understand," she said. "We are not even allies. Our species have barely begun formal relations. Why would you sacrifice yourself?" Webb dropped another Vrex, then another. His rifle's charge indicator flashed red. "You know what I learned in basic training? Doesn't matter if you're human, Calthine, or whatever. When someone needs help, you help. It's that simple." "That's illogical." "Yeah," he agreed, switching to his sidearm as his rifle died. "We're real good at that." The Vrex tide surged forward, a living wave of claws and rage. Webb's pistol barked again and again, each shot precise, each shot buying seconds. He could hear Shavera moving behind him, finally heading toward the passage he'd indicated. Good. At least one of them would make it. A Vrex claw caught his shoulder, spinning him around. He fired point blank, then used his combat knife to gut another that got too close. His armor's medical system screamed warnings about blood loss, fractured ribs, internal bleeding. He kept fighting. "Human!" Shavera's voice echoed from the passage entrance. "Come with me, please." "Can't do that, Your Majesty." he shouted back, dropping 2 more attackers. "Someone's got to close the door behind you." He slammed his fist on the emergency seal control. Heavy blast doors began grinding shut, cutting off her escape route from the main chamber, cutting off his own chance at survival. Through the narrowing gap, their eyes met, human and alien, soldier and queen. "Your name," she called out. "Tell me your name." "Webb." Marcus Webb, United Earth Marines. The door sealed with a final echoing boom. Marcus Webb turned back to face the Vrex horde alone, his pistol down to its last 3 rounds. He thought briefly of Earth, of his family, of the beach house where he'd planned to retire. Then he pushed those thoughts away and steadied his aim. "All right, you ugly bastards," he muttered. "Let's dance." 3 hours later, Calthine reinforcements broke through to the palace. They found the throne room painted in Vrex ichor, bodies stacked in gruesome testimony to a desperate last stand. And in the center of it all, still standing despite 17 wounds that should have been fatal, still gripping an empty pistol and a blood-slicked knife, was Sergeant Marcus Webb. Somehow, impossibly, he was still breathing. Queen Shavera herself oversaw his medical evacuation. As they loaded him onto the emergency transport, she held his hand with 2 of her forearms, her compound eyes glistening with something humans would recognize as tears. "Why?" she whispered. Through pain and blood loss, Marcus Webb managed to smile. Because someone had to. In the years that followed, the Calthine Empire would erect a monument in the restored palace, a human soldier standing guard, immortalized in quantum steel, and they would never again question why the Galactic Council had been so insistent that humanity, despite their youth and primitiveness, deserved a seat at the table. Some species evolved strength, some evolved intelligence, some evolved technology. Humanity had evolved something far more dangerous, the stubborn, illogical, beautiful refusal to leave anyone behind.